As Holly said, my name is Rose. I work for a tech recruitment company in Dublin, Ireland. The company I joined, Nine Dots, we believe strongly that openness and transparency are hugely important to recruitment. I mean, they're important to everything, but recruitment suffers from a reputation of like secrecy and people don't tell you things. And so that's why I'm so happy to be able to do something like this. I mean, I genuinely don't care. I'll tell you anything as long as it's not violating NDAs. So the recruitment process, what it looks like from our side. So we're starting from the left here. We get a new role on, I qualify it. So I'll talk to the client and I'll say, cool, I have the job spec, but you know, there's always stuff going on that's secret on the job spec. The hiring manager has something in their head they haven't written down. You have to find out the vibe of the role, like what's the vibe of the team. Yeah, if the team is pretty casual and pretty kind of open and loosey-goosey with the way they do things, the person who's heavily process driven will hate it there. They'll lose their mind. So it's things like that you need to find out. Then I'll source. That means I go out for people. I screen, which means I talk to people and go, okay, here's the job. What do we think? Are you qualified? Send CVs to the client. Then I will liaise and facilitate interviews. As I mentioned, that involves prepping, but it also involves just, you know, schedule juggling and other banal things like that. Then if we get to job offer, I'll help negotiate. Negotiation offer, those can be in the other order, because sometimes a client will come back and say, what are they looking for? That's too much. Or they'll come back and say, we're offering so much. And then we go back and forth a bit. And the placement is somebody gets the job. Woo. And then I keep in touch. I make sure people are happy. If they don't get the job, I'll still keep in touch because I'll have something else, or maybe I could support in some other way. And, you know, it's nice to stay in touch. In terms of how long all of this takes me to give you an idea of the amount of time that recruiters are putting into things. So qualifying the role probably doesn't take that long unless it's a brand new client. I'll spend a little bit of time on it. I'll start researching technologies maybe I don't know, or areas I'm not familiar with, so to make sure I understand what's going on. Sourcing is by far the largest amount of time, because you have to look at a lot of profiles and a lot of CVs to be able to find a small number of people that are good enough to message that will actually fit your job spec. Screening, yeah, I mean, that varies, because I'll probably try to spend 10, 15 minutes at least on a phone call with everyone I send forward. Some people just don't want to be on the phone, and that's fine. We do it by email. Sending CVs to the client, it doesn't take that long per CV, but I write a little bio on each person, highlighting their suitability for the job based on what I know of both of them. Interviewing, scheduling, that can kind of vary in time. Sometimes it's super easy, and sometimes you're spending like 3 days going back and forth, trying to juggle time zones and schedules and holidays, and trying to find like 5 minutes when everyone is available at the same time. This scheduling can be a fun time. The offer, if things go well, it's super quick. You just send over the job offer, they say yes, and you're good to go. Sometimes there's a lot of back and forth while you try to negotiate, and they've got other offers, and you have to try and say why yours is the best one and they should take it. And the same with negotiating. It's all kind of the same amount of time because it's the same block of work. And this is for one position. I'll have at least 6 to 10 positions open at any one time, each one requiring this process. And it can be more if we're really busy. It can be a lot more. At one stage last year, I had 24 positions open, so I have to do this with each one. So you can see that recruiters, our time is pretty limited. We have a lot to do, not a lot of time. So if things are dropping through the cracks, honestly, we're trying, but you know, we have a lot on. The pay, how do we get paid? I get a base wage. It's not that high, and that's by design because my wages are supposed to come from commission. So if I get you a job, I get paid, and that's my motivation. I mean, people are lovely and I want them to be happy, but I have to pay my rent. So let's say I get you a job and your pay is 110,000 euros. The agency fee will be 15 to 20%. Ideally more to 20. We'd only do 15 if it was going to be a lot of positions with a company or positions that aren't that hard. 20% is usually where we go. Then, so the fee is say 20,000, decent. I get 2,000 of that, so I get 10%. So that's what I'm getting. I'm not going to place every position that I work on. I would get maybe 1 or 2 placements a month on average. Sometimes you get a boomer month and you get loads, but that's kind of what I'm thinking is I'm aiming to get around 2,000 to 4,000 euros extra per month in my wages, and that's before tax. But it's not guaranteed. The client sometimes just doesn't pay, like they just don't pay, even though they owe us. Rarely. Sometimes you spend months in a role and it still goes nowhere and it closes. There was a position I was working on recently and it was open for a long time. I put a lot of people in, none of them quite fit it. And then the whole company went into hiring freeze. Done. Sometimes you spend ages getting somebody to an offer and then the candidate says no. Obviously, that's their choice, but it is always devastating. And if the candidate leaves within a couple of months, our clawback period is between 3 and 6 months. Then we have to give the fee back. So it's within our interests that you get the job, but it's also within our interests that you like the job and you stay there. That's not just financial. Like I do care that people really like their job, but realistically, if you leave within the first 6 months, I'm losing money. And usually at this stage, I've actually been paid the commission. So it gets what's called clawed back. So I actually have to give the money back from my own wages, which sucks. So you always need to have backup. You always have spare pipeline. If you're at final round for a job with a company and you're thinking, this is amazing, I'm definitely getting that job. And then you see the job ad go back up again. That's not personal. They're hedging their bets. If you reject the job, they want to make sure that they've got something to go back to. And if you ever want to ask me about recruitment things, you can contact me on rose@9dots.io. You can go to our website there. We recruit internationally. So if you're looking for staff and you're globally anywhere, let me know. We've worked on all continents except Antarctica, particularly interested in getting Antarctica on the map. If you have any questions after this, or if you want me to look over your CV, I'm happy to do so.